Welcome to the fourth episode of the Strictly Football Podcast. I'm Kiana Bossi, joined here by Gershom Zeller.
Hey, guys.
In this episode, we're going to go over some of the midweek action, preview the weekend's action, give you our European power rankings, go over NFL Week 15, and give you some daily fantasy tips. Let's have some fun. So this is our fourth episode. Time flies. How are you doing?
I'm good. You know, funnily enough, this is why we actually need to get a camera up in here. We're both rocking fresh haircuts.
Yeah, actually, we just came back from the barbershop. I did. You had yours earlier.
Yeah, and I got to say what's up. We both have the same barber, so I said what's up to him. Really nice guy. And he did a good job. You're looking good.
Thank you. Likewise. We're doing good, yeah. But yeah, we're looking to get a video camera soon, and so we'll be able to give you guys some vidcasts.
Yeah, it's probably the first thing up on the priority list.
So why don't we just start with going over some of the midweek action in world football. We could start off taking at Man City's game, take a 5-1 win.
Yeah, it was a convincing win. It was really fun football, as we were saying in the last game. Playing really well. Kevin De Bruyne's goal was amazing. Really, really fun piece of play. Really enjoyed that game. And it was just a convincing win for them. There's a reason, you know, we keep them so high in our power rankings each week, and they showed why they deserve to be so high up there.
Yeah,
very well.
That was their 15th win in a row.
Wow.
Breaking Arsenal's record of 14 wins in a row. So they have it all to themselves, the record. And they're 9 points above Manchester United. And they don't have a loss in the league yet, with 16 wins and 1 draw.
And that one draw, I remember watching, it was in their opening game against Brighton and Hove Albion. It was really a disappointing draw because they had so many chances to score and so many chances to get the win in that game. So even that draw can't be held against them.
Yeah, they're playing really well. David Silva's doing really well.
He has 4 goals in his last 3 games. He's really on form. He's just finding a way to get the ball in the back of the net, which is really nice and really important for that team to get goals from all parts of the pitch.
Yeah, it's they're really a fun team to watch, which isn't what we've said about English football in the recent years. So it's nice to see. And I actually saw an interesting picture. It was the Barcelona badge, but it had the Manchester City logo into it with the colors, and it was like Pep is bringing what he did with Barcelona to Manchester City.
I think I may have even been the one to retweet that. I'm starting to buy into it. I very much agree with that. I think he's really brought an elevated level of playing style to Manchester City. It's really fun to watch. And I mean, it's another one of those teams that, you know, you'll never find me rooting for Manchester City.
Yeah.
You know, I just have an inherent, I don't want to say hatred because that's a bit too harsh, but I have inherent disliking for Manchester City just because of what they represent. They represent big money.
I feel like they're kind of
buying
like
their talent.
I feel like they're kind of like the Yankees of baseball. They're kind of like the evil empire, you know, of like Star Wars. You know, they're the dark side.
Exactly.
You know, they spend not like other traditional clubs where they build through their own system. And sure, everybody spends money now, but they overcompensate.
And the thing is, I mean, like Pep Guardiola is a white knight. So if you're calling Manchester City the dark side, then to keep in that analogy, they'd have Ben Kenobi, you know, as Pep Guardiola being their manager. So they really were able to bring it all together. They got all this talent on the team from.
We're just going hard on the Star Wars analogy because
and they're Ben Kenobi shaping the youth, shaping the team.
And then you got because the movie is coming out tonight. If you guys are listening to it on Thursday. Yeah, it comes out. The new one comes out. You know, Star Wars got to get us a sponsorship deal for plugging them real quick.
Dude, they have too many sponsors anyways.
I'll take it, though, if Star Wars comes. So if you're listening, you know, Disney, Star Wars, LucasArts, shout us out. You know, we got you. But yeah, they're definitely a very good team to watch. I know we haven't mentioned this before, but if you guys want to you know, talk with us and, you know, you don't want to go through Twitter and stuff, we do have an email address. It is in the description below, strictlyfootballpodcast@gmail.com. You guys can email us your thoughts, your comments, what you want to see us do, what you want to hear, what you want us to talk about. And if you want to have like active dialogue with us, like we could do even a part of a show one time where we read all your guys' emails and we discuss them on air. So definitely hit us up on that in that email. It'll be in the description box below. So make sure you guys check this out. Quickly moving on to another game in the midweek. This wasn't a league game. This was for the World Club Cup. Real Madrid found some difficulty in beating Qatar's Al Jazeera.
Yeah, the difficulty mainly came from a stellar performance from Al Jazeera's keeper.
Yeah,
he was able to save 16 shots in this game.
It was ridiculous.
Really top-notch performance. I can't take anything away from Madrid. I think they overall played a good game. They played a lot of their youngsters in this one with plenty of their first team main players in the squad as well, but overall, it's nothing to cause concern for Madrid fans.
Right.
This 2-1 win with a late game-winning goal from Gareth Bale.
Good to see Gareth Bale back.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's good. He's been riddled with injury ever since he got to Real Madrid. He's one of my favorite players. And it's good to see him back in action.
I think I don't think it's too premature to label him as a flop. I think based on his injury and based on his disappearance in some of the bigger games recently, he can be labeled as a flop. I don't know. Do you agree? Or
I think maybe for the price of his transfer, possibly. But if you look at his involvement in the games that he's been in and his assists and goals compared to his games, it's pretty strong. He has
I'm not surprised
and he
by
shows
that.
up in the big games.
I'm not
too.
surprised by that. I was actually saying that, in the past 2 and 3 years, in the past 2 years, he hasn't been showing up. When he initially came, he showed up in the big games. He had that amazing goal against Barcelona
in the Copa del Rey.
Copa del Rey final, he was showing up. But in the past 2 years, I don't think he's even been in the big games. I think he's come on as a sub in the last Champions League final, and just his injury has really plagued his
But
time
he seems
at
to
Madrid.
be there when they need him. You look, he scored a game-winning goal with his first touch of coming back from injury.
Yeah.
If that doesn't speak for itself, he's a world-class talent, and I think he
is. But I think it has to be said that he may just be out of his depth in Real Madrid. I think it might be a bit too much for Gareth Bale, at least in that attacking third. I think it's a bit too much. I think Real Madrid will soon be looking to replace him with someone else, because that is the way they roll. That is the way they set up their teams. To if you're not performing at the highest level, there's people below him like Isco, Asensio, who can, I think, have deserved that. They've shown that they.
Isco's done a great job when he's in. In replacement for Gareth
I'm
Bale.
not saying that I could do Zidane's job better than the man himself. It was pretty impossible to do. But if I were him, based on the things I've seen from Asensio, I'd give him the starting spot over Bale 9 times out of 10. So,
they also do play. Their natural positions are different. Asensio usually stays in the midfield, like in a more central role, and Bale is a winger. Bale definitely has more pace. It really depends on the matchup you're going for, I think. But regardless, it's good to see him back, and he's always a fun talent to watch. Next up, Dortmund got their first win in a long time with a 2-0 win over Mainz.
Under their new manager, which we highlighted in our previous podcast.
Yeah, we actually did say, don't be surprised if they win their next few games. Lo and behold.
We didn't see anything too different from the manager. He put out a similar starting 11 to the previous managers, and it was a bit similar playing style to Thomas Tuchel. It was a bit more attacking, a bit more high pressure, but I don't think there was too many changes, and you can't expect that so early on in his tenure. It's going to take a bit of time for him to mold this team into exactly what he wants it to be. But so far, signs. True, good signs.
But it's good to see Dortmund back in top form. We want to see them compete. We want to make the Bundesliga more interesting.
Yeah, of course. Right now in the top 3 in the Bundesliga is Bayern, Schalke at number 2 at the 2 spot, and RB Leipzig. But with Schalke, I can't see them sustaining that number 2 spot for much longer.
Kind of like Valencia in La Liga.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a really great comparison.
Mm-hmm. Now, moving on to maybe highlighting some of the games you guys want to keep an eye on this weekend. There is not too many, to be fair. Because there was a lot of in the midweek action. We're gonna specifically highlight only a couple of games for you.
Do we have a break for country?
International break? I believe the next one's in March. It's in March. It's the last set of friendlies before the World Cup.
Oh, okay. So never mind. I was thinking we were having all this midweek action because of it.
We're making up for something. No.
Okay, fair enough.
No, but this weekend sees Man City face Tottenham, putting that 15-game win streak on the line. But I mean, they did it against Man United.
I'm going to back Tottenham in this one. I back them
as
to
well.
come in. They had a strong performance over the week.
Tottenham. Yeah.
I'm taking them. Heung-min Son is on fire.
Yeah, he is. He scored over the midweek as well.
He's an amazing player, electric player, and that's the type of player who needs to show up against Manchester City.
Mm-hmm.
You need
Harry Kane.
You need someone to press the back line. You need someone to work hard and run for 90 minutes, and that's exactly what he does. And let Harry Kane tap the ball in.
Yep.
Let Harry Kane get the tap in. Let Harry Kane be that
do what he does.
Hound in the box, sniffs out the ball, gets the ball, fox in the box, whatever you want to call it. Let him get the goals, and Heung-min Son needs to put in the work.
Yeah, he's definitely a very big part of this Tottenham. So I know we both want Tottenham to win, but do you think they will?
I said I'm backing them to win this one. I take them as my pick to win this game over Manchester City.
See, they definitely, if Tottenham does win, that'll make up a lot of ground for them in this race, for the title race. Next, and our final game that we're recommending for you guys to check out is the Club World Cup final, Real Madrid versus Brazilian Grêmio. And this will be held in Qatar on Saturday.
That's an interesting game to watch. It's more silverware for Madrid, and it would just
it's theirs to lose.
Yeah. Exactly, it's theirs to lose. But we've seen these Brazilian sides upset before, just not recently. In recent memory, I have
just been all Europe.
Barcelona smashing Santos and other games that just proved that European club football's dominance in world football as of now.
Yeah, it should be another trophy for Real Madrid and Zinedine Zidane to add to his already extensive collection in his past 2 years.
I think it's about time to start talking about Zidane is he the best coach in world football right now?
Right now, it's very possible. Over the past 2 years, I would say he is. Right now, if we take a snapshot of Madrid right now, I don't know.
See,
this is coming from a Madrid fan.
That's the thing. You talked about ever since 2 years. But that's ever since he's been hired.
Yes, correct. This is his first professional managerial position.
This is his first professional position, and initially it was a bit too early. When he came in and started winning everything right off the bat, it was a bit too early for people to start talking about his legacy and how great of a manager he is, and is he the best in the world right now? Just because it was with such a great team, and it was.
But he sustained it. He sustained it.
It's hard to do.
He did the double last year. And he won the Champions League 2 times in a row.
And Lord knows it. A lot of people knock him. You saying you can't be the best manager in the world when you have Ronaldo on your team, when you have all these amazing players.
Sir Alex Ferguson was
exactly, and it's a task in itself to keep all these heads level-headed,
all these egos in check.
And Lord knows Real Madrid has had
ego issues
in the past, and this is something that plagues their team. It could be a huge problem for them, and I think Zidane is someone who can come in and calm everyone down because he was in that locker room before. He was with the Galacticos.
He also had an ego issue himself, and a hot head. But
man, he's learned from these mistakes. You saw him right after his most infamous incident of him losing his head after the World Cup, where he headbutted Materazzi. He gave an interview a couple days later. And, you could see the regret in his eyes. Poor man, he really regretted his decisions, and I got to believe that he's obviously grown since then. Really smart man, really classy man. We got a bit off track, but...
but it's for a good topic. I think this is important. And it's not very often that you see a world-class player become a world-class manager. It usually doesn't work like that. Sure, Pep Guardiola was good, but he wasn't Zidane good.
He wasn't Zidane good, but he was the captain of a great.
I'm not discounting anything Pep Guardiola's done.
I think a better comparison is Jose Mourinho. Yeah, he was. Can you even consider him a player? I don't know. Maybe I'm not the best person to talk to about this because I got my own little beef with Mourinho because I genuinely dislike the way he sets his team up, who he is.
But there's no denying his success.
There's no denying his success, and sometimes he's pretty funny. I have to say,
yeah, he's entertaining.
He's a bit like Donald Trump. I made that comparison.
And
LeVar Ball. You take the two together, you got Jose Mourinho, and he has a little bit of mischief in there. I think he just gets that from himself. That's your Portuguese mischief.
That's his Iberian personality.
Exactly.
All right. Now here's a topic that not necessarily previewing anything, but it's something I noticed over the midweek. As a AC Milan supporter, I am a big fan of the young goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma. But not many of the ultras of AC Milan seem to be. During the game, which they won 3-0 versus Hellas Verona, a lot of these ultras behind the goal were calling, they were swearing at him. They were, saying, he's a traitor and everything. And
this is based off of the rumors from
again,
summer?
Not these are resurfaced rumors. So he signed an extension. For those who don't know, a lot of rumors went around. He's, I would say, the number one goalkeeping prospect right now.
Under 21.
Under 21. He's 19 years old. And for those of you guys who haven't seen him, he's huge. He's like 6'6", 6'7" guy.
Yeah, that's the first thing you notice. He's like, he has a presence.
Yeah, he's massive. He's shares a name with the other Italian great goalkeeper. You also notice that. And he's just very good, and he had a breakout year, and everybody's talking about him, and he's maybe one of the bright spots for this very young, unsuccessful Milan team. But as a supporter, even if your player is linked to other clubs, you should still support him,
It's something that, I can't speak for all fans because there's a lot of activity done by the fans that's questionable, especially in Italy. Mm-hmm. Fans there are the ultras especially they're violent. They take it a bit too far.
They're racist.
They're extremely racist. I have a problem with them. So, is it the number one thing on my mind in Italy that Gianluigi Donnarumma is getting a bit too much flack from the fans? I have to say no. I think what's a bit more important is the constant racial abuse that we see weekend after weekend after weekend. You can't go 3 weekends without a story coming out of Italy of a black player, playing in Italy, getting some negative
racial slurs thrown at them.
Racial slurs thrown at them by the fans. It's really sad to see. It's a bit disgusting. We saw Mario Balotelli being a huge advocate for that when he was in Italy alongside Sully Montari. They were huge advocates in the Say No to Racism campaign, and I think that's the points we need to be bringing up in Italy. I think we all need to be aware of this, and we all need to start, talking about it, try to make somewhat of a change. I want to get off the soapbox for a minute, but I feel like that had to be said.
No, it's definitely important. But going back to quickly with Donnarumma, the issue.
Please, what's going on?
I was going to ask for your opinion. Should he stay at Milan, or does he transfer? He's been linked with Real. He's been linked with PSG. He's been linked with Man United. He's been linked with Man City. Any big club has been linked to Donnarumma. As
a neutral, I don't particularly have any great affection for Donnarumma or AC Milan.
But as his development as a player.
If I think he wants to develop as a player, I think he has the talent to be the number one at one of these big clubs. I think City would be a mistake because they seem to have found their top goalkeeping talent, their top goalkeeper for the next 10, 20 years, 10, 15 years.
20 years.
Goalkeepers play for a long time, but not that long. But Edison is really good, nevertheless. But yeah, I could definitely see him playing at a top English club, and he could definitely get the number one spot over the top that's there right now. I think so. I think that would be best for him because AC Milan they're in a rebuilding stage, and he's a young man. He's ready to get it. He's ready to win trophies. So it's all on him. I can't tell him. I can't say.
He just did sign an extension, and he did pledge his loyalty. He came out on Instagram today saying that he loves Milan, and this is his boyhood team. He grew up in Milan. He trained with Milan and all that stuff.
We've seen players stab fans in the back before.
Yeah,
I'm sure he could do the same.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to move on to our European power rankings, just like last Thursday. And we're going to start with our honorable mention. We're going to kind of do two groupings of honorable mention this time. First group, we're going to talk about Tottenham and Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed that we couldn't agree on some way to get at least Chelsea into the top 10 because they had an amazing performance over the week. During the week games, and I think they showed that they deserve to be in that top 10. But yeah, both Chelsea and Tottenham barely missing out in the top 10 rankings this week, and we can see if
who knows if Tottenham beats Man City,
exactly.
we can probably put them in.
There will be some changes. Of course, if you want our individual rankings, look for those on Twitter. That will be coming out later tonight, this Thursday.
Yeah, and also, email us. Like I said before, email us your rankings, and we'll talk about them on Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's plenty of teams that are missing out from here. So if
we can only include so many, but definitely give us your teams and the reason you guys think we should include them, and we'll talk about it on Tuesday. Our next grouping of teams is Schalke and Leipzig.
Yeah, both of them sitting at 2 and 3 respectively in the Bundesliga. We already talked about this. Schalke, I mean, they've had a great start to the season.
Mm-hmm. A lot of young talent on that team.
They took a big loss, well, not necessarily big in terms of score, but it definitely meant a lot to them to lose against Dortmund 2 weeks ago. Especially that was a struggling Dortmund side that wanted to find its feet again in this rivalry match, and they were able to do it against Schalke. So that's why Schalke doesn't make it into our top 10, but they've shown consistency over the past few weeks. It's all on them to stay in that position. And
Leipzig?
Leipzig, of course, is a really exciting team. We've talked about,
our beef with them.
We've talked about our beef. I'm not going to bring that up, but I really
they're very good team. Timo Werner, which I really like Timo Werner.
Naby Keita had a goal who's
likely going to leave over the winter.
He is. I think he actually already has
a
set transfer fee agreed for with Liverpool. But over the last week in the Champions League, he had this great run where he just took the whole team. Was as if it was like parting the sea. It's a really beautiful run with his long legs. Really interesting player. So yeah, those 4 teams just missing out of our top 10.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see them in next Thursday. And starting our top 10 at 10, Valencia.
Yeah, they've dropped a bit from the last time we talked about the power rankings. That's because of the tie to Barcelona. I mean, if they can show that they can get W's against these top talents,
then there's no reason they shouldn't be there.
Then there's no reason.
They're sitting second in La Liga.
Exactly. And there's no reason that Valencia should drop out of this top 10.
Yeah, but the thing with Valencia is they're not really focused in on any other competitions.
It's true.
That's why I would say they're another reason why they're a little lower than,
I agree.
The other teams.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Number 9, we have Juventus, the reigning Italian champions, drew with Inter Milan over the weekend.
Yeah, really disappointing 0-0 matchup. We need more from their attacking third. Their defense.
They have the firepower. Paulo Dybala is a world-class striker,
but he needs to do it every single game.
Yep.
Like, he can't be on one game and off the next. He needs to be there every single game for his team.
Definitely. 8, dropping a couple spaces due to the loss. Manchester United.
I think it's a bit unfair for them to drop as deep as they have, but as we're going to see,
it's also credit to a lot of other teams. No discredit to Manchester United.
Well, I mean, let's bring up 6 and 7 because I think I got a legitimate argument for Manchester United to be higher than Inter Milan in our power.
So this is what we'll just let the listeners know. Our 6th overall is Inter Milan, and our 7th overall is Atletico Madrid, and then 8th is Manchester United.
Exactly.
And let me say why. Manchester United, sure, they lost, but I feel there should be some weight granted to Atletico and Inter because they're both still undefeated in their leagues, and these are top 5 leagues in Europe.
Yes.
They're not pushover leagues. Atletico, granted, they're out of the Champions League. They're into Europa.
The thing is, their undefeated status it's a weird term to give them. It sounds great, but it's backed off of a lot of draws and not so many games played. I think they've only played 16 games each, and they've both drawn over 5 times. So
I mean, Mauro Icardi has 16 goals in 16 games.
He's been great
in the league.
He's been great. Atletico has had also amazing individuals as well. Griezmann has been on form. Coming off the bench.
Gamero?
What's his name?
No.
He's the Argentine striker.
Correa
has been an amazing, electric player coming off the bench. But Manchester United as a whole, which is my argument for them to be higher, as a team, they work really well together. As much,
Lukaku just broke his goal scoring drought, but he doesn't show up in the big games.
Yeah, that's a huge knock on their team. They need Lukaku to be on form at all times because his job is the easiest of all the players. He just has to tap it in, and at times it's comical how he misses. Exactly. So yeah, Manchester United has to be looking at him.
But those three, Inter, Atletico, and Man United, it was really close for us to decide on an order for them, and I almost guarantee you guys next Thursday there will be some shift in order for those three.
Yeah, for sure. This is really based on week to week now at this point with those three, and the next two honestly, as well.
The next two as well. Fifth is Bayern, sitting atop of the Bundesliga.
Yeah, they deserve to be in the top five. Moving on really quickly to number 4, I wanted to have a little argument here as well. At 4, we have Real Madrid ranked, and I think for Bayern to be ranked below Madrid at this point is also a bit of something that I have beef with, a disagreement that I have with this power ranking. I think Bayern should be sitting at 4 with Real Madrid at 5, simply based on Bayern's ability to stay organized even with this managerial shift. And they did beat PSG over the week. They've been playing well, but the reason we've put Real Madrid atop Bayern
is because they beat Sevilla.
They've had a real shift in form. They've had a real shift in form ever since beating Apoel.
Yeah, like we talked about, they needed one game to spark their old Madrid.
They've had a real shift in form, and
Ronaldo's coming back. Bale is back from injury. It's been a while since we've seen the BBC in action.
And we're projecting them to only move higher up the power rankings each week. So that's why I eventually conceded to Keon to put Real Madrid at 4, because I think projections they'll be going up. They'll be looked to get into that top 3.
Yeah, but our top 3 remains the same as last time. Number 3, Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, even with the loss to Bayern, they still play
and Bayern Munich. It's Bayern Munich,
football. It was at home. Really quickly, just to bring up a stat about Bayern at home, they've had the best home record ever since Chelsea under Mourinho when they were going undefeated in Stamford Bridge. Now that's the Bayern taking that home. So Bayern Munich, it's no surprise.
They're no joke. They're no pushover team.
PSG wasn't able to get the win in Munich.
Yeah, definitely. And number 2, falling from my number 1, which was your number 2 last week, Manchester City. No discredit to Manchester City. They're playing great football.
When it comes to the 1 and 2 spot, it's like little things. It's really little things. And I think in the United matchup, even though they did win,
you could see some flaws.
Exactly. It wasn't their best football being played.
Yeah, and but they definitely have the opportunity this week. They beat Tottenham this week convincingly, and depending on what happens with Barcelona, which, spoiler alert, is our number 1 team. Yeah, Manchester City could move up. Manchester City could move down. We have a very volatile top 10 power.
Definitely. I mean, at this point, I want to see the matchup already. I want to see City versus Barcelona.
We might see it in the Champions League.
I really want to see it this year. This is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a City Barcelona final. Pep Guardiola going back to his old club. Yeah, that's what I want to see.
That should be fun to watch. Barca, number 1. Obviously, we mentioned that before. Playing some great football, winning on every side. Messi continues his dominance.
There's nothing more I can really add. I think Barcelona, with the injuries in the team, have looked at Messi to hold them up.
He is a leader through and through, whether it's on Argentina or Barcelona, which is a great sign of maturity as he's developed.
Another player I want to bring up from that Barcelona squad who's been surprising me.
I want to guess who you're saying. If
please.
Is it Paulinho?
Well,
because I wanted to say he surprised me.
For the past 5 weeks, he's been, wow, yes, he's been amazing. But this is more recent than Paulinho. It's Thomas Vermaelen stepping in for Samuel Umtiti. He's been very, very comfortable in possession on the ball, which is the number 1 thing we look for from our defenders. As a Barcelona fan, we need comfortable defenders on the ball because that's the most. We're mostly in possession. Yeah. But when he needs to switch into defense, to switch into attack mode, usually it comes in fast breaks from the other team. He's been very quick in stomping out these fast breaks, getting the interceptions needed to stop fast breaks. He's been a really interesting player to watch, and he's stepping in, filling a big hole with Samuel Umtiti. He's been amazing for Barcelona. Really great signing. So I have to give credit where credit's due. Thomas Vermaelen, Great job.
I don't want to look too far into next week and our week matchups because we need things to talk about in our other episodes. But the El Clasico is coming up, and I didn't want to talk about the game, rather the time of the game. El Clasico is being aired on TV live at 4 a.m. Pacific time. This is one of the first times in recent memory that it's not like a primetime Spain game, yes, which means that it's around 11:30 a.m. here in Los Angeles.
They do that because La Liga has had new contract negotiations with Asian TV stations set up in Japan, Korea, and Indonesia, which the time schedule there is a bit off as well. So at least with the game being played at, I believe it's 5 o'clock in Spain. At that time, that gives fans in Asia the opportunity to even watch the match. So I believe that's why it's at such a late time for us here on the Pacific Coast. 4 a.m. Wow. I mean, I guess I have to get up.
Yeah, we're going to have to get up. That was my next word. I was like, are you going to get up for that?
Pull an all-nighter, maybe.
Maybe just not go to sleep. That'll be interesting to see. All right, yeah, that ends our segment on world football, and we're going to pick up right where we left off on the NFL. Week 15 in the NFL. Starting off, we have the result for Thursday Night Football. Denver and Indianapolis. The Broncos won in a very, very bad game. If you didn't watch this game, you guys really didn't miss anything.
I mean, the one big takeaway for me, at least, was Denver's offense continuing to show that they can put points on the board. I think that's something that we took for granted. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking a lot of trash about Denver because their offense seemed to be, not there. It was really, really in shambles. Their quarterback situation was completely thrown out of whack. They were even considering starting Paxton Lynch, so things were really looking bad for them. So it's good to see over the past 2 weeks against the Jets as well, they showed some good performances on the offense, and their defense has been getting better.
They started Trevor Siemian, but he went out with an injury, being replaced by Brock Osweiler, who had 194 passing yards.
Man, I mean, Trevor Siemian is their best option.
Yeah.
But
that's not a great option though. Still,
it's not. They have to be looking to.
I think you look at
fix this up.
Maybe go for a trade to get a quarterback. Maybe a Sam Darnold, a Josh Rosen, a Baker Mayfield
in the draft.
I think Baker Mayfield fits Denver very well. He seems to have a very Midwest persona.
Yeah, and he has a big arm that could look for Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. That could work quite nicely for them.
I could see Sam Darnold, same place. They're big guys. They're good in the pocket.
The thing is with Denver, I mean, I wanted to bring up as a quarterback that they could possibly sign Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, I agree, and I think they should. I think more teams should, except I think that he's been exiled out of this league for issues not pertaining to football.
People are getting tired of hearing it at this point that Colin Kaepernick should be signed to this team, that team. Like it's getting old at this point, but it's sort of true.
It was brought up when comparing him to maybe Nick Foles and maybe bringing him as a Carson Wentz replacement.
See, Nick Foles, I would disagree. I would rather have Nick Foles as my QB.
What people don't understand is at this point it's no longer a political issue. We're saying strictly in football.
Yes.
He's a better quarterback than a lot of the backups in this game.
Yes. That, especially over Trevor Siemian, especially over Bryce Petty. So yes, there's a lot of quarterback situations that can be helped with Colin Kaepernick joining it aside.
All right. Moving on, we have a pair of Saturday matchups.
Have you ever seen something like this before? I
don't know
this is new.
Yeah, and they're both on the NFL Network. So I feel like this is a big ploy to get some extra money in.
Roger Goodell showing that $200 million contract is worth something. He has such an innovative idea. I mean, to be fair, there's no college football games being played this Saturday, so it has to be filled up with something.
You'll get your dose of football.
And we got a great matchup.
But we're going to start with the not-so-great matchup. Chicago at Detroit.
I think this one's actually going to be an interesting one to watch. Detroit...
They're kind of still fighting for that
they're still fighting, and they've shown that they have the ability to win games even with Matt Stafford's injury. They weren't able to get it done last week, but I think this week they'll be looking to change that against a struggling Chicago side, who at the same time are interesting to watch as well because now they seem to slowly finding their form.
They're starting to pick up. Trubisky's becoming a little more consistent.
Yeah. It's interesting to watch him grow. He tore apart I'm forgetting who he played against last week, but he tore them apart. Amazing performance, especially led by that rushing attack of Jordan Howard, just cramming it down. The Cincinnati Bengals.
Cincinnati
Bengals. Still, very, very, very good game to watch for Trubisky.
Next is the Los Angeles Chargers going to Arrowhead to face the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a big one you guys should watch out. This game, like another game later on Sunday, will define a division and the AFC West.
Yeah, this is huge for both teams. Los Angeles couldn't be coming in any hotter at that point.
Yep.
We keep on talking about this every single weck. We talk about the Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers. We talk about how amazing they've been playing and how amazing their defense has been. And now they're finding the offensive playmakers that just make plays for them, get things done on the offensive side of the football. So on the other hand, Kansas,
they just came off a victory.
They came off a victory. They also had a great game 2 weeks ago against the Jets, but they really hit poor form after their meteoric start to the season.
Right.
So they're looking to change that around, and if they get a win this week, I think we can cut it with the Chiefs struggling talk. I think if they beat the Chargers, that shows.
See, now you brought up Alex Smith in the MVP conversation. I want to bring up a man by the name of Phillip Rivers.
Okay.
If they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, this is an insane comeback. From 0-4 to be division leaders and likely going to head into the playoffs. Phillip Rivers in a new city, he's, I think, almost single-handedly, him and Keenan Allen. No. But not single-handedly, but a lot of it has to do with the quarterback. This is a quarterback league.
Yes.
If there's not a good person making the throws, Keenan Allen's not making the catches.
Yes, but you can't just pick a team with a great record or a team that's been on the up.
They don't have a great record.
They've been on the up. They've been on the up, and they've been playing some great football. You can't just pick their quarterback,
I think
MVP candidate.
I think
just because the team's doing well.
Okay, but MVP is the most valuable player. I think Phillip Rivers is arguably the most valuable player.
I don't even think he's the most valuable.
To this Los Angeles Chargers team.
I don't think he is the most valuable player on this team. It's got to be someone on the defensive side of the football. I mean, that's why they've been doing well this year. That's why they've shown they have the capability to win games. Because even when the offense wasn't churning, the defense was still getting it done. So if I had to choose an MVP from this team, I'd give it to two men: Casey Hayward on the secondary side of the defense, and Joey Bosa.
I don't think Joey Bosa's an MVP.
I'm just saying for this team.
Unfortunately, we'll never see a defensive MVP.
I mean, maybe J.J. Watt if he comes back and lets.
No, but I mean, you have a defensive player of the year, but I feel like there'll never be. And it's such similar to the Heisman. You look at it. Heisman's almost always given to a quarterback. Very rarely given to a running back or a receiver.
Running backs. I think Ingram won the Heisman.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not. It's so much more common to see a quarterback win, just like the NFL MVP. All right, moving on to our Sunday games. Miami at Buffalo. Jay Cutler and company coming off a win. Buffalo not really that good. Both these teams really have nothing to play for.
From the reports I've seen, it's not going to be another. They're dubbing last week's game in Buffalo the snowball. It's not going to be another snow-filled game this week from the reports that I've seen. So look for this one to be a little bit more of an open game, not like last week's, because last week's game in Buffalo was just completely unable to watch it. Hopefully this week's game is going to be better. I'm looking at Jay Cutler. You brought him up. I'm really looking at him to have a good game, pick apart these Buffalo Bills because he played amazing. I don't think we talked about it.
It's his first win against the Patriots, I believe.
Yeah.
When they beat him in Monday Night Football. Next, Baltimore at the Browns.
This game is really just all on the Ravens to do well.
Yeah.
I think the Browns have conceded this season.
I mean,
but they still need a hunt for one win.
I think they need to get one win. They have to. They have to go for. They have 3 games left. You have to go for one win.
Man, Hugh Jackson crapped his pants last week's game. They could have beat the Green Bay Packers.
They could have. They almost had it.
But they didn't. And I don't see them beating the Ravens. No. I'm taking the Ravens in this one. And the Ravens are a great DFS play, fantasy. I'd play their defense against the Cleveland Browns. Even though the game's in Cleveland, it's a great play this week.
Definitely. The Bengals travel to the Vikings. Vikings win. I think that's pretty straightforward. They're still looking not only for the 1 seed, but the 1 or 2 seed.
I think Minnesota at home is just a bit too much for the Bengals to handle.
Yeah.
Even if this were in Cincinnati, I would tip the Minnesota to win. So I'm also going to go for Minnesota in this one. I agree with you. Yeah, I think they're just going to be too much to handle defensively at home for the Cincinnati Bengals to put up many points in this one.
Yep. The Jets at the Saints. Alvin Kamara has been cleared and will most likely come back and play.
That's good
much to my happiness, as he's on my fantasy team, and we have a playoff matchup.
This is where things are heating up.
So this is where I need them.
I bet a lot of people are in your same position.
So I was very happy, and he's projected to do well.
He's going to be on a lot of championship-winning teams. Yeah, Alvin Kamara, especially as somebody you yourself picked up off
waivers. Yeah.
That's great. That's the type of stuff that wins you leagues. So
definitely.
So people are very happy to see him.
So Saints most likely, I would say they win this game. It's in the Superdome.
Josh McCown is out rest of season. I feel like we should bring that up as well. So Bryce Petty will get the start under center, and that means New Orleans is going to win.
The Eagles at the Giants. I don't see a surprise here. I think Carson Wentz, the Eagles win this game.
I think it's a really nice game to set up Nick Foles.
I agree.
If he gets
a very good point.
A nice successful win in New York, against a rival, a divisional rival. I think this is really nice for him. He can come in, get a confidence booster.
Yeah,
beat them in New York, or do they play in New Jersey?
They technically play in New Jersey. MetLife Stadium's in East Rutherford.
Okay, well, whatever.
Well, you guys know what we mean.
That's so confusing. All these New York teams playing in New Jersey.
Strange. Similar, actually, the LA Chargers playing in Carson.
Yeah,
not LA. So it's,
I don't even know what Carson is.
Exactly. The what is it? The LA Angels play in Anaheim.
Yes.
So it's like a whole bunch of they're trying to go for the name. It's the city branding.
Yeah, exactly.
The Cardinals,
New Jersey Giants doesn't cut it.
Doesn't roll off the tongue.
New Jersey Jets.
New Jersey Jets could work, but I don't think that'll ever happen.
Nobody wants to be affiliated with New Jersey. Yeah.
The Cardinals travel to Washington, which the Redskins don't even play in Washington. Now that I'm reading, I'm reading the location of these stadiums. FedEx Field is in Landover. I am not sure where that is, but it's not Washington D.C. So
this is why we need to get a third person in here to just like as a producer on the show, just to keep us in check.
Spoiler? Is this a?
We should.
Is this a little hint we're dropping to our listeners?
We should get a producer in here, hopefully, to just to keep us in check, just to make sure we stay on topic.
Yeah, stop talking about the locations of stadiums and how the teams are misnamed, and how we're going off topic right now, talking about a producer that we need. Cardinals, Skins, not really marquee matchup.
I think both teams need to show that they need to have a turnaround in form. I think both teams need to prove that they can come out with a win. So I'm gonna take the Cardinals in this one. Actually,
fair enough.
Their quarterback situation is a little bit murky. But
they also need, I think, go for one in the draft.
They should. They really should, because all their options are 29 plus. So I think they need to get some younger quarterback talent in there. And I'll take them to win based off of their defense. I think they're going to shut down Washington. Yeah.
We have a lot of important games this week. And the next matchup, I'm saying, goes up there with, I would say, the 5 most important games. The Packers travel to Charlotte to face the Carolina Panthers.
This is the return. All hail the king. Yeah. Return of Mr. Discount.
Return of the Mac. Yeah. Return of the Raj.
The Raj. And if we're getting him at 80%, 90%, I don't think it matters.
I don't think no. See, this is my take on this.
Aaron Rodgers is
Aaron Rodgers. Think you're right. Aaron Rodgers at 80%, at 70% is better than a lot of QBs at 100%.
Yes.
I don't think it's worth it for Green Bay. If Aaron Rodgers is not fully fit, if there is a chance he gets sacked, because this O-line isn't one of the best.
Yeah.
If Aaron Rodgers gets sacked...
Well, the O-line is actually not that bad.
It's not that bad, but it's... Again, I'm not saying
it is one of the best.
No, I said it's not the best.
It's one of the best. It's a pretty good O-line.
But Aaron Rodgers is still... You expect that as a quarterback. He's going to... Not maybe get sacked, but he's going to get hit. You know, it's football.
It's football.
And... I say if the risk is there that he gets hit and he goes down and maybe prolongs this injury, I don't think it's worth for them to start him.
To start him. And I've ran the numbers as well.
You look at they have to win all 3 of their games.
Yes.
To win. And their next 3 games aren't against easy opponents.
That's the thing.
They have Carolina.
Yeah.
I believe they have Minnesota. And
let me just check up on this for you really quick.
Yeah, I want to see the third. Yeah, they play Carolina, then Minnesota, then the Lions.
Okay.
They could beat the Lions. But Carolina and Minnesota
is where it gets,
both have things to play for.
It's true.
Carolina wants the wild card. Minnesota wants the first week bye and home field advantage.
And the Minnesota game is in the Lambeau. Which means a lot, you know, because
it does.
Minnesota's home form, it's something else when they're at home. They just you can't.
But I'm saying if you're bringing back Aaron Rodgers, then you're all in. You're so confident that you could win these 3 games, and even if you win these 3 games, they're still not guaranteed.
That's the thing. I've ran the numbers, and as of right now, they have a 10% chance of making it to the playoffs. So it all depends on this game. I think Aaron Rodgers can come out and bring a win. I think Green Bay is actually going to win. That's the one thing we haven't brought up yet. Who's going to win the game? And I think it's going to be Green Bay. Just because Aaron Rodgers has to come and improve something, and there's a reason they're putting him in.
I think they're gonna run the ball a lot more, just because they want to put Aaron Rodgers. They don't want to.
They've been able to. Jamal Williams has been.
That's
amazing.
what I was about to say. I have Jamal Williams on my fantasy team as well.
Okay.
No, but I'm saying if you have him, it might not be a bad idea to. I mean, you're our resident fantasy expert. But it was just my opinion. If you have him, are
you asking? Does he get the Gershom endorsement?
Does he get the Gershom endorsement?
No, not for DFS.
For the price, though, he's not that expensive.
Not against Carolina. I think I have other options who would be much better. If you want to bring up a cheaper alternative, Kenyon Drake, who has a nice price against the Buffalo Bills, that would be my play.
All right, we're gonna move on. Houston versus the Jaguars.
That's a great game. It's a really good one to watch. But it's going to be Jacksonville.
Jacksonville's going to win. Yeah, I agree with that.
All the way.
Here's another one of those games that we said. These are the must-watch marquee games. The Rams head up to CenturyLink Field up in Seattle to play the Seahawks.
I really expect a high-scoring game in this one. I think the Rams are going to go out there and get touchdowns. And it's going to be on Russell Wilson to match him up.
See, the thing is, this is what I was watching some ESPN. I was reading some articles. One, the Rams have more sacks on Russell Wilson than any other team in the NFL.
Throughout his whole career.
Throughout his whole career.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
The Rams had the game that was in Los Angeles if Cooper Kupp didn't drop the football in the end zone.
Yeah, I remember that one.
This game is so important to both of these teams.
Yes, this is do or die. This is do or die for the Seattle Seahawks. For the Rams, they're fighting for the
because if they if the Rams lose this game, they lose the division.
Really?
Because they would be tied record-wise with the Seahawks, but the Seahawks have the tiebreaker since they beat them both times.
Okay.
So this is
do or die
for both teams.
Forget
so
about
if the Rams lose, then they're fighting for the wild card.
And that's no bueno.
This NFC this year is super packed.
Yeah, it's very.
With so many teams. You have Carolina. If LA lose, then it's LA. And then you have the Falcons. You have the Seahawks. The Saints,
potential.
You have Green Bay we just brought up. You have the Cowboys.
I do not like the sound of that. I think, maybe I didn't understand. Exactly.
This is a very important game. And
how confident are you in Jared Goff?
I don't want to say it's Jared Goff that's giving me the confidence. I want to say it's this very, very depleted Seattle defense. And this offensive line that last week for Seattle was very bad. Jacksonville, granted, has the highest number of sacks in the NFL, but the Rams have the third highest number of sacks in the entire NFL. You have the best interior lineman in Aaron Donald.
He might be a bit of a prima donna. You know, we had a lot of problems with him in the contract talks.
He deserves to get paid. I think he's one of the best players in the NFL.
I think NFL players especially, I mean, this is a topic for another day, but NFL players especially have a really bad negotiating process over their contracts.
Yeah, of not showing up.
Le'Veon Bell did a horrible job in the beginning of the year, and it's just like, they deserve to get paid, but you gotta fill out all the steps.
But Todd Gurley, superstar, third overall in rushing yards, has the most touchdowns of any player, receiving or rushing.
Having a great bounce back season.
Pro Bowl, worthy
Pro Bowl
season.
Year. Oh, for sure, undoubtedly a Pro Bowl year.
It's going to be raining in Seattle. The weather,
I don't think that's
Jared Goff
too much. He's
absolutely demolished the New York Giants when it was raining.
He's used to the rain. That's how we would play back in
Cal.
Yeah.
So I'm having the Rams taking this one because there's only so much that Russell Wilson can do, and we saw that against Jacksonville. And personally, I think the Rams defense, although it's not the best, it's good enough to compete with just Russell Wilson.
You see, I asked you first and foremost for what's your confidence level in Goff because, I mean, you were explaining to me, and now I really understand the gravity of this game, the brevity of this game. It is a very important
game.
For
both teams. Because if Seattle lose, then you can basically kiss playoff hopes goodbye, and then Russell Wilson is out of the MVP race.
And in these scenarios, this is where I'm looking at the more veteran players to step up.
Yeah, definitely.
And Seattle is filled with them.
Veteran players, veteran coaching.
Side and the offensive side of the football.
Then off the field, you have Pete Carroll.
Yes. That's my man.
He's a very good coach. Here's an interesting stat. Pete Carroll is 14-1 when it comes to playing first or second year quarterbacks in Seattle.
Well, that's not surprising to me, just based off of how great their secondary has been for the past 5-6 years. So I mean,
but he stopped Carson Wentz.
Yes. He's
a second year quarterback. I mean, that goes into that.
It's a great side.
They stopped Jared Goff before.
Basically, my point is in all this is it's at the end of the day, both defenses are great. It's not like that cancels out, but I think that just puts more of an onus on the quarterbacks to have.
Russell Wilson's a better quarterback than Jared Goff is right now,
undoubtedly.
But I think Jared Goff has a lot more weapons.
Exactly.
Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods is coming back. Their number one receiver. You got Cooper Kupp.
So which offense do you think is better this year? Rams.
I mean, statistically as well.
But the quarterback on Seattle is better.
Right.
Correct? Russell Wilson.
But if that pocket crashes, then Russell Wilson goes down. Although he's really great at running around.
I thought you were about to say the opposite. I thought you were about to say if the pocket collapses, you can put a 50% spike
if the pocket moves.
On Russell Wilson.
I was noticing this in the Jacksonville game. If the pocket moves, so if his blockers
move with him.
Yeah, if the blockers shifts to the right, then Russell Wilson can run to the left.
Yes.
Or vice versa.
Yes.
If it collapses on both sides, he tends to go back. He goes back and tries to swoop around to one side.
Yes.
And last week, against a very, very good defense in #Saxonville, it didn't work.
There's no chance of that working because those boys are fit. Those boys can run out there.
His tendency is to throw the football not out of bounds when he's under pressure. He throws it to the sides but downfield, which caused 3 interceptions.
Against Jacksonville, which can't be compared to the LA Rams. Although the LA Rams have a great defense, they can't be compared to Jacksonville. I still want to say, though, at the end of the day, Russell Wilson, I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks in this one in a very, very high scoring matchup where I'm predicting Russell Wilson to show up in the fourth quarter and to get the W and get the final game-winning drive, game-winning touchdown in this one. So I'm taking Russell in this one.
Definitely a very good game. We're going to be watching it together. And, I mean, you guys will hear our reactions on Tuesday.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I have the Rams winning, personally. I'm just going to stick with it, and definitely a great game.
How about them Rams?
Next game we're going to go look at is Tennessee versus the Niners.
Yeah, I think Tennessee needs to show. I'm actually this is
a good game too. There's a host of good games this week because Tennessee's also fighting for a wild card spot.
They need to show that they can regain their form from the beginning of the season.
Yeah, their next games aren't easy either. They play the Niners, then they come over, and I believe the Rams travel. They play the Rams.
Yes.
And then they play the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's not like they're closing out this season on a few easy teams.
No,
the Niners are the easiest of those teams, but the Niners are catching steam. I said it early when they signed Jimmy Garoppolo.
You did.
I think the Niners being at home, they're getting some hype with them. Jimmy Garoppolo is very exciting.
Yes.
And I think they're going to win.
At first, I think there's a little bit too much hype on Jimmy Garoppolo. You were dubbing him Brady's.
He was Brady's backup.
But you said you were saying like Brady mentored him, and yes, it's true, but to an extent, Garoppolo isn't like the prodigal son. He's not.
I'm not saying
he wasn't the one who was going to take over the reins for Brady.
No. I'm saying, but I think he's the savior for
the Niners.
For the Niners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe he's a prodigal son for the Niners.
Correct.
The only thing is, he's showed that he has it. He might not be world class. He might not be the upper echelon. He's no Deshaun Watson, but he's a good quarterback. He's a solid quarterback. I'd rather have him than Trevor Siemian.
Yep.
Rather have him
than Blake Bortles, to be honest.
Hoyer, who was starting for the. Yep. Yeah. Rather than Blake Bortles as well. So that's a great shout. So I'm taking the San Francisco 49ers this one at home. They have a 2-game winning streak.
Yeah.
I want them to make that into 3.
Going. This is an interesting game, this next one. Dallas versus the Raiders.
Struggling Raiders side.
Against
Dallas side that's slowly picking up the pace.
They need this win. Next week, Ezekiel Elliott comes back.
Yes, that's the real prodigal son.
So they need to win this game so they can maybe jump on the Zeke train.
Yes.
And find their place in a wild card spot.
Them to the wild card. Yeah, I can see that happening. I think Dak also needs to show that he can do it without...
Well, he's in a sophomore slump, I feel
like. He is, and it's because he's been doing it without Zeke.
Yeah, and Dez Bryant hasn't been great.
Yes. There's been a lot of drops. They've been hyper-targeting Dez Bryant a lot of the season, and he's dropped a lot of those, balls, and on deep passing plays. So I'm looking at Dallas to get the win here. I mean, Oakland just can't buy a win at this point. It's really not looking good on the defensive side.
And the wins they have aren't very convincing.
They're not. Marshawn Lynch, I think, we can dub that a failed experiment. I mean, look, he's been okay fantasy-wise on the year, but like we're talking real football, I don't think he was what they expected him to be. I think Marshawn is disappointed. That hurts me to say. I love that man, but I think it's true.
Monday night game, Atlanta heading down to Florida to play the Bucs.
I expect Atlanta to steamroll the Bucs in this one.
They need to.
Exactly.
They need to. Because they also, one of their next 3 games is traveling to New Orleans. So there's a lot of interesting storyline. You have it with the Falcons, with the Saints, with the Packers, with the Rams, with the Seahawks, with the Chargers, with the Panthers. Who's going to jump in and out of those division-leading spots versus those wildcard spots? And because if you fall out of the division, this is a very, very crowded NFC.
It's true.
This year. So it should be definitely a good one to watch. However, the best game of the week, we saved it for last, is happening on Sunday. Our game of the week, New England heading over to Heinz Field and playing the Steelers.
I felt like something was missing. And as you said, it's a host of great games, but this is the marquee matchup.
Yep.
We got the Patriots going to Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And they also need to win this matchup.
They need to bounce back.
They need a bounce back win.
But Steelers want the home field advantage throughout playoffs.
Of course. That's what they're fighting for. This is going to be most likely the conference finals.
Yeah, I could get on board with that. So they'll probably meet one more time, but we want to see, is it going to be in Heinz Field or is it going to be in Gillette Stadium in Foxborough?
Yeah.
Which is not even in, well, technically it's in New England, but it's not in Boston.
Yeah, okay. Well, whatever. Anyways, back to the game. The main man on the docket, the number one person I'm looking at to have a great game this one is Big Ben.
Big Ben Roethlisberger.
Who at home, it's been said a million times, for some reason.
He knows Heinz Field.
Is better. He's better at home. And he has an elevated level of play also when the weather gets a bit colder, is what I've noticed. Mm-hmm. When you can start seeing his breath on the TV screen, that's when Big Ben is playing at his best.
And he has an MVP caliber wide receiver in Antonio Brown.
I mean, the fact that a wide receiver is even up for the debate of being an MVP. It's
undersized, wow. And he's killing it.
Yes.
However, New England versus the Patriots, Pittsburgh versus Tom Brady,
yes,
as a better way to put it, is 2-14.
Jesus. So Tom Brady, out of the 16 games he's played against
won
Pittsburgh,
14 against Pittsburgh, yeah.
I mean, that's extremely impressive, and I don't know. Should I even be surprised and impressed by this man's stats anymore?
Looking at it on a New England side, and you see their players, they're going to get Gronk back for this game.
That's huge for them. He was. It felt as if something was missing in the last game, and it was definitely Gronk. That's huge for them to get him back.
But they're approaching this game like any other game.
Of course, that's how they approach every game.
Pittsburgh is coming up to this game as this is the game of the season.
See,
although it's not do or die for either of these teams, they're both going to be.
It's just a huge matchup.
But yeah,
and a lot of this.
It's a barometer game. We want to see where each team is at. Are they as good as they seem?
A confidence booster / confidence deflator type of game. You know, you win this one, you're on the up. You lose it, you're starting to have second thoughts about how deep you can go into the playoffs. So we're really, really excited for this one, and sadly. Today, I was going to have my DFS portion of the show, but we're running a bit late, so we're going to have to cut that one short for this week. Really quickly.
Yeah. If you want to shout some players out real quick.
I can give a shout.
You don't have to do too much of an explanation, but you can give some players that you think.
I would love to give a quick shout. 5 players.
Sure, go for it.
I'd love to give a quick shout of 5 players that I think are must-plays. My must-plays last week went pretty well, and I'm taking a page out of my book from last week.
Okay.
I think this is the time. It's fantasy playoffs. It's playoffs.
It's clutch time.
For fantasy, it's clutch time, and these are the players that you can count on for that time. If you're playing league action, for DFS, these are players who are pretty cheap, and I'm really surprised to see them continuously be so cheap when they've proven that they are the go-to weapons on their respective sides. So really quickly, my 5, I'm going to start off at the running back position with 2 players who I highlighted last week to have great games. One of them was in my Boomer Bust, the other was in my Must Play. Now both of them are in my Must Play this week. We got Rex Burkhead, who is just the Patriot to own right now, consistently getting the touchdowns at the goal line. He's getting the goal line work, and he's also getting some passing plays as well. So in a PPR scoring format, he's a really great player to own. Secondly, I'm matching him up with another running back who's very cheap. I love his price cap, and I love his touchdown potential, his booming potential. It's Alex Collins. He came through big for me last week. I hyped him up, came through with 2 touchdowns. He actually came through with one touchdown and 1 receiving touchdown. Really great player, really fun to watch, and I'm choosing him to have a great game in this matchup against the Cleveland Browns.
Yep,
a team that they can run over for sure. Moving on to the wide receiver position, I'm going to highlight 2 players. I think this is a player that people overlook because he has a somewhat high price cap, but he is elite, and he shows people that he is elite each week. It's Adam Thielen. And I expect him to have a great matchup at home against Cincinnati in this one. So look to him to have a great matchup. The wide receiver I'm pairing him up with is Cooper Kupp. We said it's going to be a high-scoring game in Seattle. So look to Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to get at least 1 touchdown in this one. I'm putting my mortgage on that one. I really trust Cooper Kupp. Moving on to the tight end, we got 1 tight end up on the docket in this one. I think he has a really great price in DraftKings, and right now, the tight end landscape in fantasy is really murky. There's no.
You had Kyle Rudolph, who was pretty good, but Kyle Rudolph just went down injured.
And that's like elite. You're only talking about the elite players or players you could trust because
Jason Witten,
those guys are hard to trust at this point. So I'm gonna go with a reliable name, someone who actually had a really bad week last week. Put up a goose egg, 0 points for Jimmy Graham last week, but I expect
Jimmy Graham is there.
Exactly. And in this
Yeah, it's
matchup,
definitely
I expect him to get touchdowns.
lack of targets for Russell Wilson. It'll be
Another thing with this Seattle team, they don't have rushing touchdowns coming from their running backs at the goal line.
well. I mean, Russell Wilson's their main running back at this point.
And he's not getting the rushing touchdowns either. What they're doing inside the 15, 10-yard line is
giving it to
hyper-targeting Jimmy Graham. They hyper-target him. And he does this thing. They announce it very well, the commentators. They always compare Jimmy Graham to a basketball player boxing out his opponent trying to get a rebound. That's sort of what it looks like. And he's so big, he could just get the ball and continue on. So he's my tight end must-stream player of the week. Now, finally, we're going to the quarterback position. Very, very important position, obviously, each week in DFS. It's the player that you need to come through. You need to boom on your lineup. So this week, I'm picking an easy one. Matt Ryan. Pick him up and enjoy your wins, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And that concludes our football portion. Thanks for listening this week, guys. We had a lot of fun, talked about a lot of great stuff. Join us on Tuesday where we have an international special guest for you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been Kiana Bossi. You guys can follow me at KianaBossi23 on Twitter.
I've been Gershom Zeller. Follow me at SnacksYTB on Twitter. Yeah, and please tune in. This international guest, we're really excited to see him. I had to bring that up one more time before we say goodbye.
See you guys.